On this program, an unflinching look at capital punishment in Texas. Unprecedented access to the death house in Huntsville.
On the death certificate is listed as homicide.
I've done over 100 executions.
This is the story of 3 men on death row.
This is the end of the road. I can't accept this.
I ain't never killed nobody.
The Polunsky Unit, the maximum security prison about an hour north of Houston. This is where Texas's death row is located. It's noon, and a white van leaves the unit. The sole passenger is a man who knows the exact time and place of his death. He's scheduled to be executed by lethal injection at 6 p.m. this evening. The van is heading towards Huntsville, 45 minutes away.
There are 35,000 residents of Huntsville, but 1 in 3 is an inmate.
Well, it's the prison city. There's how many units in Huntsville? I mean, this is Prison City, USA.
That way, there's a prison. That way, there's a prison. That way, there's a prison.
They execute criminals about 3 or 4 blocks from here.
It is the end of a month in which 7 men have been put to death. The executions are so frequent, people don't even know they're taking place.
We'll see the news crews sometimes and be like, oh, I didn't know they were executing anybody tonight, you know, and then just go on serving the pepper fried steak.
The van's final destination is the Huntsville unit, also known as the Walls. It's the oldest prison in Texas. No condemned men are housed here, yet they live in the constant presence of the death house.
You look back there and see it's, what, 10 till 7. You know, 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago, someone was put to death in this town.
The death house at the Walls was built in 1952 with inmate labor. Back then, the death sentence was carried out by the electric chair. The method is different now. But for 3 men awaiting execution in Texas, the end is the same.
I know it may sound crazy, but I think the death penalty is justified.
Willie Earl Pondexter Jr. is on death row for a crime he committed when he was 19 years old. His execution date is 34 days away.
When you got child rapists and serial killers who shows lack of humanity, lack of love for the human race and stuff like that, I believe this is designed for them.
The crime for which Willie received the death sentence was the murder of 85-year-old oil heiress and philanthropist Martha Lennox.
I know what I did. I was wrong for what I did. I'll be the first to admit that. But I did not kill her. I did not kill Miss Martha Lennox.
The night of October 28, 1993, Clarksville, Texas. Lennox is at home, perhaps getting ready for bed. Pondexter, his cousin James Lee Henderson, and 2 others break down her door and climb the stairs to her room. The game, who has the guts to fire the first shot and shoot her dead?
When I went in the room, Henderson had the gun to her head. He's asking where the money and car keys was. She didn't say nothing, and that's when he shot her in the head.
The bullet penetrates Lennox's brain.
Just blowed everything out. Killed on spot.
Then Henderson
handed the gun to Pondexter, and then Pondexter shot her a second time through the jaw. Was it a horrible thing to do? Absolutely.
The way I grew up, the mentality I was raised under, I wasn't taught to use my mind to think. Back then, if my friends would have jumped off a cliff and told me it was fun, I'd jump off the cliff too.
Does it excuse what he did? Of course not. It's much more complicated morally. But as a matter of Texas law, if she was already dead when he shot her, or if he believed she was already dead when he shot her, then he's not subject to the death penalty.
The state of Texas didn't agree, and the consequence of the action he took 16 years ago would be a sentence of death.
Nah, I can't see myself dying for something somebody else did. I can't accept that.
Willie and his lawyers have only 4 weeks left to fight his death sentence. Since 1924, Texas has executed nearly 1,000 men. No other state comes close to that number. But for the 329 men on death row, the only number that matters is how many days they have left.
I had 28 more days before they decide that they're gonna put my lights out. My name is Johnny Ray Johnson. I've been on death row ever since June 6th of 1996. And that's been 12 years now that I've been on death row. If I was going down the road and I saw me, could I be my best friend? You see what I'm saying? I can't be my best friend because I have never liked myself.
For Johnny Ray Johnson, a former taxi driver, the murder weapon was a boot. In 1995, he murdered Leah Joette Smith, a crack cocaine addict, after she reneged on a deal. The deal was simple: drugs for sex.
I got mad, you understand what I'm saying? I jumped on her and I beat her up pretty bad.
Smith fought Johnson with a wooden board, but Johnson repeatedly struck her head against the cement curb. Then he raped her. When he was done, he stomped on her face 6 times, shattering her skull with his boot. Then he raped her again. Smith died slowly, drowning in her own blood.
I'm innocent of this crime, I'm serious, man. I ain't never killed nobody in my life, nobody. Do you have a picture of me, what they got, the picture that they gave you? You look at my face right now, get a good look at it. When you look at that mugshot that they gave you, you understand what I'm saying? You watch, that ain't me. And that's the person that I believe that they must be prosecuting in my place.
For some of the people on death row, what you are witnessing is a form of mental illness. You're witnessing an inability to absorb the injuries that they've caused. And so they adjust by saying, that's a different person. That person's not here. There are 2 me's.
I have never been able to deal with the inner me. When the judge sentenced me to death, the DA, you understand what I'm saying? He done painted this picture. Painted this picture of me being a demon. You understand what I'm saying? A demon that I'm not. You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, oh my goodness, is this true? Can I be this person? No, that is not me, man. They don't know what they don't know that it's not me, man. And that's how I was feeling, man. I was feeling.
All of Johnny's legal options have been exhausted. There are no more battles for him to fight. David Martinez has 3 weeks until his execution, but he's all done fighting.
This is not living, this is an existence.
The 329 men on death row spend 22 hours a day alone in a 3-by-2 meter cell.
If you ever go to a shelter where they get little puppies and cats, ours is almost similar to that. You are by yourself when you leave your cell. When you're in your cell, you are handcuffed wherever you go. You never get to touch nobody. You never get to shake hands, nothing. If you're not strong enough up here, you will go crazy. The only reason I guess maybe I didn't go crazy all this time was because I held on to that piece that said that I get to see my daughter one day.
The last time Martinez saw his daughter in the free world was 17 years ago. 2 years after that last encounter, while on parole for a sexual assault, he begins a relationship with Carol Prado. She has 2 kids of her own. 231 Obregon, San Antonio, Texas, Carol's house. On a summer night, a deeply intoxicated Martinez comes home after a night of binge drinking. He trips over a baseball bat left on the floor, and in the ensuing alcohol-fueled rage, he bludgeons Carol to death in her bed. Eric, Carol's 14-year-old son, is asleep in the living room. His younger sister, Belinda, awakens to the sound of the bat striking Eric's head. She watches Martinez beat her brother to death. David decides to spare Belinda Prado's life. She later testifies against him.
My peers found me guilty and sentenced me to death. That's what was given to me. That's what I accepted. I can understand how a family feels for revenge. I can't fault them for that. I'm human. I show the same emotion they do. I have 7 days left. I'm more afraid that something will happen to stop me from getting executed than the other way around.
It's 3 days before David Martinez is to be put to death by the state of Texas for a double murder.
I never thought I could want somebody dead. And I've struggled with that for 14 years, wanting somebody dead.
Roger Prado is the man whose son and ex-wife were murdered by David Martinez.
This guy just took away my whole life, practically. I want him to die for what he did. I want to be there. I want to see it. I hopefully want to look into his face and let him know how disgusted I'm with him. I feel I'm going to feel good when I get there.
My name is Rhonda Franco, and I'm the sister of David Martinez. When we first found out that a day was given for execution, I said that I would be a witness for him. I told my husband that we would be there because no one should die alone.
He's not going to be really seeing you, Mom.
It's going to be very, very hard for my mom to be there. But the faster I get it past me, the faster everyone's able to move on. Will the victim's family be there? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Will he acknowledge them? I don't know. Will he address them? I don't know. My brother is a little angry because he's not going to be able to know or really get to know who his daughter is.
In a motel room near the prison, Martinez's mother and sister meet David's daughter for the first time. Stephanie is now 18 years old. Her mother, Cynthia, David's ex, is with her. Cynthia married another man and led Stephanie to believe he was her biological dad. She pressed for the truth and found her father 6 months ago.
My daughter wants to witness execution. She wants to be there for me, basically, what she's saying, right? Well, I'm gonna explain to her thoroughly and give her a visual, more or less, of what it's gonna be like so that she can truly understand what it is. They strap me down to that table and they have needles on me and all she can do is see me or they kill me. That's not gonna do nothing to me. But seeing her cry, that's hard. It's the only thing that could ever hurt me because she's it. That's it. Now, on God's green earth, nothing else matters but her.
The night before Martinez's execution. It's an opportunity for Stephanie to get to know a family she never knew existed. Mark, David's cousin, grew up with her father and was like a brother to him.
Were you and David bad back then?
You know, like I said, I was going to the same route as David. I was with them the day they came for him.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said he wasn't gonna run. You know, how many family members do we have that's locked up? Tons. You know, I worry if it's in the bloodline sometimes, you know. Are we doomed from the beginning?
In 1972, the Supreme Court declared the death penalty cruel and unusual punishment in violation of the Eighth Amendment. Since being reinstated in 1976, Texas alone has accounted for 35% of executions in the United States.
Part of the Texas psyche, if you will, is that we were a republic. Texas was a republic. It stood on its own. You know, we're a little different. We're a little more individualistic. We want to take care of business in the way it ought to be taken care of. And that includes the death penalty. Yeah, if you do that kind of thing, we're going to kill you.
I've done over 100 executions. And, well, you count for a while, but after you get over 100, it seems kind of meaningless.
Tom O'Reilly started his prison career as a guard and is now warden of the Walls Unit.
We by far do more executions than anybody in the United States. And the citizens of Texas voted for capital punishment. And I serve the citizens of Texas, again, without passion or prejudice.
Today is the day that one of us is gonna lose our life to Texas's machine of death. And David Martinez is his day today.
So I'm a firecracker, you know? If it seems like everything wants to set me off and I gotta catch myself. I'm anxious because it's going too slow. I'm ready to go. I've had 14 and a half years enough of this, so it's done for me, it's done.
The van that will take David to Huntsville begins its journey through the East Texas woods. For reasons of security, the route is kept secret.
On the day of an execution, the inmate will arrive here about 1:30. They are strip searched, given a shower, a change of clothes, fingerprinted, and they're placed in this first cell right here. Given consideration on what's fixing to happen, there's no need to be mean or rude to the guy. We treat him with as much dignity as possible while he's back here. This is where he'll remain till 6 o'clock when we come get him, and this is the last place that he will be.
I did 102 executions. Yeah, the appeal to me was the uniqueness of it. I was actually involved in the taking or escorting of the inmate from the death house cell into the death chamber and seeing he was secured to the gurney. The tie-down team involves a total of 5 officers, correctional officers, that in essence are doing just that, tying down the condemned person to the gurney. I would always tie the 2 straps coming across the upper part of the body, and I would secure those along with the left wrist. We knew what they had done, what they were convicted of doing. And it wasn't pretty. None of them were pretty. There weren't any, gosh, I don't know if he should have got the death sentence for this or not. No, man, they should have shot this guy the minute they found him. I mean, on killing children and that just old stuff you wouldn't even think about. It wasn't about, oh, yeah, let's kill him. It's just, okay, you put yourself here, man. Look what you did. And so it just never did bother me.
An execution day unfolds like a well-rehearsed scene. The players know their roles and their places. What press there is gathers in a tiny room across the street from the walls.
Actually, it has not been a good year to be named Moore or Martinez.
Not really.
By law, the AP in Texas has a spot in the death chamber. I've witnessed probably in excess of 300 executions since 1984.
Okey-doke, I can do that too.
At just before 6, the warden receives a routine call from the governor's office. They confirm that he may proceed with the execution. By 6 o'clock, the tie-down team will start strapping Martinez to the gurney. At this point, the witnesses are escorted to the death house. The Prado family are the first to enter. A few minutes later, they're followed by the Martinezes. Rhonda, David's sister, covers her head from what she believes is a local news crew. The sequence is the same, execution after execution, making it extremely unlikely that the two groups will ever have a chance to confront one another.
I knew that the victim's family was going to be there. Did I want to face them? No. Will I be sarcastic towards them? As in, are you happy it's dead? No, because it's a loss of both ways. Somehow, some way, we're connected. My brother took your family. The state's taking my brother.
By 6:05, the reporters and witnesses have assembled to watch the last moments of David Martinez's life.
I'll give him 2 or 3 minutes to make a statement. And when he's through with his statement, I have a remote in my pocket. We call it a clicker. And I push the button on that remote and it turns on a light back in the drug room, and that tells them to start administering the drugs.
He shook a little bit. Then I started to see the color in his lips turn, and you know, I was just focused on him slowly dying. You know, he didn't feel no pain, which I wish he did. You know, I wanted him to hurt as much as he hurt my son.
He offered apologies to the family members of the victims present, and then he addressed his daughter.
All right, time of death was 6:18. He mouthed, quote, "I'm sorry, I truly am," period, close the quote.
It's been less than 20 minutes since David's body has been removed from the death chamber.
I found out that he had a daughter, David Martinez did, you know, and she's now, I guess, maybe 18 years old or something like that. And I felt hurt for her and her family, but not for David Martinez.
The last time Stephanie touched her father, she was still a baby. David Martinez is the 429th person that Texas has executed by lethal injection. If Willie Earl Pondexter doesn't win his appeal, he'll become a statistic as well.
I can't accept this. My case is still pending. And my lawyers, they're doing all they can. So what I'm hoping on now is that my DA and the judge and the courts have a sense of right and want to correct the wrong. So basically, my life's in their hands.
Willie Pondexter now has 2 weeks before his execution.
You go to any other state and they're like, you know, totally freaked out because they've had like 2 execution warrants that they've had to deal with that year. I said, 2 in a year? It's like, we have 2 a week.
David Dow is Willie's lead lawyer at the Texas Defenders Service, a nonprofit that represents death row inmates. He's just returned from a visit with Willie at Polunsky.
He's very nervous. even though we have legal action still pending, the likelihood of any one of those succeeding is pretty small.
Kate Black and Jared Tyler are the lawyers working with Dow to fix what they see as an inadequate defense 15 years ago by Willie's court-appointed trial lawyers.
His trial lawyer did not bother to hire his own pathologist to examine the wounds, to examine the crime scene photographs, and to determine whether Ms. Lennox was already dead when Pondexter shot her.
With only 2 weeks until Willie's execution, their first priority is to get him a stay.
If we prevail in what we're trying to accomplish, then Willie Pondexter will be in his 60s when he's eligible for parole.
Still, Willie and those who care about him must prepare for the worst.
His friend Vanessa was there. Have you met Vanessa?
No.
The two of them had been discussing disposing of his remains. He doesn't want to be buried in the prison.
When I first started writing to him, it was just, yeah, okay, this guy's going to be my friend. As time went by, we just got closer and closer.
Vanessa Keene is a death penalty activist who lives in England. She found Willie on a website where inmates post requests for pen pals.
I love him and he loves me. That's enough. You know, he refers to me as his wife.
Me and Vanessa, we met, I know she's gonna kill me if I can't remember when we met, but it's been over 3 years. Yeah, we close like that. We close like that. You pretty much say we like husband and wife. Yeah.
That's the relationship we have. Albeit that he's behind glass and I'm not.
I think I'm gonna get a stay. I think I'm gonna get a stay. I don't know why I think this. I just feel it. I just feel it.
It's 2 weeks before Willie's execution date.
I have told Pondexter on a number of occasions that I'm never optimistic in death penalty cases. You have to be delusional to be optimistic, but that I'm hopeful in his case.
But hope isn't a strategy, so Dow and his team will pursue every option available.
Currently, we're right in the process of writing Willie's clemency petition. Clemency petition's a little bit different than any kind of other legal filing. Basically, it's a plea for mercy. You're asking for the executive branch to look at the facts that brought that person to the moment when that crime happened.
Pondexter is a guy who had a typically broken and bad upbringing. He's a guy whose mother was put in mental hospitals at least 4 times when he was growing up.
For some reason, I don't know, her mind would just snap, and she don't know who we are anymore. She only know her own kids. And I remember one time she chased me through the house with a big old butcher knife in her hand.
He drifts towards being in a gang because a gang forms a type of family for people who don't come from families like mine.
A child wants to feel love. If he don't feel love at home, he's gonna turn to the streets. And you know, just like I know, in the streets, those older guys, that's not love. They make you feel like they love you, talking and doing crazy things.
Though they agonize over every word, they know Willie's chances are slim. In the past 10 years, Texas has granted clemency to only 6% of condemned men.
I have absolutely no hesitation in saying that Pondexter could be paroled tomorrow and would not be a threat to society. People would think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you something. I would hire Pondexter to babysit my boy. Are there a lot of Willie Pondexters on death row? A lot of people who I would hire to babysit? Absolutely not.
I sit in myself daydream all day. That's the way I deal with everyday stress and strife back there. I just visualize myself being on the ranch or out riding a horse out across the pasture. Because I remember my grandfather, he owned like a ranch. And I remember used to going down there, and that's like my safe haven. That's my comfort zone. That helps me just block everything else out.
5 days before Willie's execution, with no explanation, the court decided not to hear Willie's case. His motion for a stay was denied.
I can't tell you for sure. I can't read the minds of judges. But what I can tell you is that I believe that our position was sound legally, and the court was just repulsed by this crime.
And on the following day, Willie's request for clemency was rejected. Willie's last chance is the U.S. Supreme Court. Johnny Ray Johnson's last day is in 24 hours.
I ain't doing too good this morning. You know, I'm kind of like, a little bit worried. I got one more day left. Nobody knows what it's like on the other side. You know what I'm saying? I always hear a lot of people always holler, well, it's all right, especially preachers, they have that real bad. Well, it's all right to go to the other side. You know what I'm saying? But you don't ever see anybody trying to rush to get there. You understand what I'm saying? Ain't nobody trying to rush to get there.
Johnson has no family that has helped him through his years on death row. But he does have Mrs. Clay.
I've been visiting Johnny every 2 weeks. In '96, my son committed a crime and he was put on death row.
Keith Clay murdered a convenience store clerk in the course of a robbery. He introduced his mother to Johnny.
After my son was executed, I saw the opportunity that I could be a mother to Johnny like I were to my son. The old Johnny was evil. He did evil things. But when you truly look at it, a lot of these young men can be rehabilitated. My sister and I is the only family that he has. And he had been there 10 years, and not a soul had visited him. And that hurt my heart.
When I first came to death row, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know when they brought me from Houston, you understand what I'm saying? When the judge gave me that death sentence, I thought that they was bringing me to kill me at that time. I thought they was still having an electric chair. You understand what I'm saying? I had heard all these things about your head popping off and your eyeballs popping out and all that kind of stuff. And I went crazy, you understand what I'm saying? I started fighting them like a wild man. And now, I just figured this is the end of my life, so I'm finna fight to the end, you understand what I'm saying? Because I'm not finna go to no electric chair. You see what I'm saying? I didn't know that they was doing lethal injection. I thought, like I said, I thought they was finna crisp me.
In Texas, the electric chair gave way to the needle in 1982. An execution by lethal injection calls for 3 drugs, each to be administered in a precise sequence. First, Johnny Ray Johnson will receive sodium thiopental, a fast-acting anesthetic that will put him to sleep. Second, pancuronium bromide, a powerful paralytic. Third, potassium chloride. This is the drug that stops the heart. The order of the drugs is designed to rapidly cause unconsciousness so that the condemned man won't suffer.
One inmate, Jonathan Nobles, sang Silent Night as his final statement in the chamber. And I remember that one because every time at Christmas now, when I hear Silent Night, I think of Jonathan Nobles. He got to round yon virgin, mother and child, and stopped, slipped into unconsciousness. So if you go through the process of singing the song, that will give you an idea of how long it takes.
Once the drugs are administered, the inmate starts a labored breathing, and then in essence I've described it as, I don't mean anything derogatory by it, it's somewhat like a harsh whinny, like a, I'm not doing it justice, but it is, that's what it is. And evidently that's the last air expelling from the lungs.
The men on death row have spent years trying to imagine this moment. They want to believe it will be tranquil, but the question that consumes them is whether or not they'll feel any pain.
You better believe I'm afraid it's gonna hurt. It ain't that I'm afraid it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. This is what they do. They only give you an anesthetic for a 160-pound man. I weigh 230 pounds.
Johnny is worried that he won't be given enough sodium thiopental to put him under, and that he'll be conscious when the second drug causes complete paralysis. That would mean he'd suffer the terror of suffocation and cardiac arrest while being completely unable to communicate any pain.
That stuff is gonna kill my ability to holler, you see what I'm saying? And the rest of the time, I'm gonna be feeling all that pain. I'm gonna feel my veins exploding. I'm gonna feel them burning. Somebody help me! You see what I'm saying?
Is there any pain involved? No, there's no way. Can't happen. This guy has had a lethal dose of sodium thiopental. He is not going to wake up.
Johnny and the warden stand on opposite sides of the controversy over lethal injection. Is the method humane, or does the potential for excruciating pain violate the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment? But for some residents of Huntsville, the controversy is different.
I believe that you should get executed the way you killed that person.
I think they should go back to the old style. You know, when they would do the electric chair and the hangings and all of that. And that might deter the crimes that we have nowadays.
I don't think this humane way is right. I mean, it should hurt. You should suffer.
It is the afternoon of Johnny's execution.
I don't believe in the death penalty. This is what I believe. If I would kill you and they take my life, then the one took my life is a murder too.
On the death certificate, it's listed as homicide. The cause of death of that particular person is listed as homicide. Because it is a killing. It's a murder, a homicide and murder being synonymous, I assume, and that's how it's listed. Of course, it's a legal homicide. Let's not lose sight of that, but that's exactly what it's listed as.
Just like you said, I will see you in heaven. Be good. Okay. We'll see you again.
Good morning, Huntsville. The third day of March 2009. We've got 47 degrees and a chance for thunderstorms later today.
Lord, we ask you that you'll bless this motorcycle, that no mechanical harm will ever come to it. In Jesus' name, and everyone said, amen.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
It's almost 1 in Huntsville, and the van from death row has just entered town. The passenger is Willie Earl Pondexter, 34 years old. These may be his last images of the free world.
commit murder!
A small but devoted group of protesters arrive for Willie's execution.
We're having another execution in Texas. This is number 432. It's just totally unnecessary. This is really vengeance. There's no other way you can describe this.
Stop the killing!
If you're going to accept the job as warden of the WAS unit, you have to know that you're going to preside over executions. I've always been a proponent of capital punishment, so that it's not a problem. And the executions don't bother me at all. The ethical part about capital punishment doesn't bother me. The spiritual part, everybody has to answer that for themselves. One of the protesters left it, and we picked it up.
I don't know for sure that the warden is, again, he'll say he's got a job to do, but I got a feeling that he's not a big fan of the death penalty.
There's not much of a crowd out there. There's not a lot of protesters. We rope off an area on the northwest corner of the building, and that's where they're stationed at. That's where we have officers over there, and they keep everybody on their side of the line.
Do I respect the warden here? I think he's probably a decent person from what I've known about him, but I just wish he would show some courage and just say, I'm walking away from this, I'm sorry. That's what I like.
They have their views, and I respect them because they demonstrate those views. It's not just a passing thing with them. They're against capital punishment, and I respect that. This is America. They're certainly capable of having their views here.
In a couple of hours, Willie will enter the death chamber, unless the Supreme Court intervenes.
They are preparing a last meal for Poindexter. Fried chicken, as well as macaroni and cheese. They're generally asking for something that they would ask out of their childhood, out of their youth, something that will kind of take them back.
What will likely happen is that the Supreme Court will rule probably within an hour of 6 o'clock local time here that Poindexter lives or Poindexter dies.
They just got word that the Supreme Court turned it down. I'm sorry.
When they call me and take me in that room, I'm gonna detach myself from the whole procedure. I'm gonna go to my safe haven. I'm on a ranch somewhere of horses and cows. Riding a horse out across the pasture. Cowboy hat, spurs, boots, chaff, and wranglers, all that. Under the open blue sky. That's me. It's an old country boy.
Even knowing you're gonna lose, you have to look yourself in the mirror. And if for no other reason than that, you fight, even if you know you're gonna lose. You're forced to move on, to wake up the next day and come back.
quote, I just played the hand that life dealt me. He asked that if people were reading about his execution, that they, quote, look at my life and learn from it, period, close quote. As he was taking his final breaths, a tear streamed down the right side of his face.
It's tragic on either side of the scale. Somebody's loved one has been brutally murdered, and that somebody sacrifices their life for that murder. Whatever situation in life brought them to that point, the whole thing's tragic to me.
Society bears some responsibility here. And I don't think society ought to be executing the people that it abandons.
Capital punishment's always been here. You want to get right down to it, they executed Jesus Christ. Throughout history, we've crucified, stoned, electrocuted, decapitated, hung, gassed, shot. And my guess is in some form, capital punishment is going to remain.